good? What's good? Great people. Welcome to another episode of the CheckDown. I'm with my great host, man. Dre, how you feeling, bro?
What's good, man? I'm just ready to get started, man. Ready to continue these power rankings, piss some people off because I know somebody gonna be mad today.
Yeah, man. Pop, how you feeling?
I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm chilling. Glad to be back with the people.
Yeah, J Mick, man. What's good with you, man?
Oh man, feeling good. Feeling like we're gonna make some more people mad this week, but it's all good.
Yeah, man. So before we get deep into it, man, college football is making a return, man. Uh, I know a lot of people that I know that play games didn't play like Madden and stuff. They already like ready to play, man. They ready to jump back in. So how y'all feeling, man? Who all jumping coming out of retirement to play some of this college football?
Man, I already played Madden, so you already know that I'm definitely about to play. I'm like the college football game, so and I've been waiting on that for like a decade. So
Hey, look, it's belt the ass season. You thought Saban was a dynasty. Wait till I get on them sticks. You gonna see a real dynasty. Belt the ass for everybody.
Hey, I'm trying
Yeah,
to bring
Pop, you coming back?
Miami of Ohio to greatness.
Hey, listen. See, look, my favorite thing about like playing back in the day was like getting a sorry team. I used to always get Grambling State or something, like somebody that was trash, had no business winning games. And I would stomp the competition out until like somebody offered me to come up. And eventually I'd be in like the SEC. And then I would leave the school, go be at a coach at another school, and then spank them because I know they was trash and they weren't gonna compete in the SEC. Hey, I was smart, boy. But that game fun, man. Hey, welcome my boy Neffy back, man. You know what I'm saying? We you know what I'm saying? We send out some prayers and loves to his family, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate him for being back. But with all the love and respect we have for my brother, we gonna review the previous 10 teams on our power ranking. So is this the nope, that ain't the right one. That ain't the right one. It's this one. He pissed off already. All right, so we got Panthers at 32, Broncos at 31, Patriots at 30, Giants 29, Commanders 28. Uh, I mean, we didn't have too many complaints about this. You know what I'm saying? Too many people wasn't upset about where their team was kind of ranked at. I've actually, told people like, I feel like these teams can come up. You know what I'm saying? These are teams that can move. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. Neffy ain't too mad. All right.
nobody thought the
Well,
Panthers were going to be the worst
we're
team
gonna review.
in the offseason last year, but then you see
Well,
what
that's the
happened.
one. That's the one thing. That's the one thing. What's the name was a little mad about. He like, bro, we not gonna be the worst team in the league. I'm like, listen, until you show me otherwise, I've seen
As
you
it
be the
is
worst
right
team in
now,
the league 2 times.
it's just tough to
We ain't
project.
had too much.
So yeah.
You talking about
So with
Di?
the
Tell
second
Di
part,
his team is dog shit. His team is dog shit. We putting belt the ass when we face them out in Germany. They might win 2 games this season. Okay.
That's
all right.
crazy.
So with the second part, we got Titans at 27, Cardinals at 26, Vikings at 25, Raiders at 24, and the Chargers at 23. Now, one thing I did say, out of all the teams that we've ranked in the first 10, I think the Chargers have something that none of them have, which is a solidified franchise quarterback. I think they have a guy that they can invest in for the future if you start to build around him and actually give him some help. But yeah, Dre, Daniel Jones for MVP. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying.
Daniel Jones for MVP. And Dak Prescott up for highest paid
That's what he said.
quarterback in the league when he leave the Cowboys. So hey, so maybe just maybe next year Trey Lance wins comeback player of the year. Okay, most improved, whatever you want to call it. Tread lightly, fair.
Ooh, ooh. So we're gonna start it off today. Pop, you might as well come right back. You know you first on the list today, baby. Come on back. You first on the list. Number 22. What being at? What being at? You been looking for what team was gonna be at? Where you at today? Because you've been asking where the Saints at on this list for months. The whole 2-3 weeks. Where they at? Well, I know the
Bro,
Saints
and
coming down.
I don't even know why. Like, we're not even in your division. We're not even in your conference, bro. I don't know why you worried about us, man.
Yeah, she wanted to know where they at. So we're gonna talk about the Saints, man, at 22. The only problem for me was that they brought back the head coach. I mean, to be honest, like I think the head coach is a terrorist. To be honest, Pop.
Hey, listen, I think this year they're giving him another opportunity to prove himself. I don't know what they're trying to get him to prove, but I think they're going to give him a mulligan since the fact that they cleared out the entire offensive staff. We brought in Clint Kubiak to be our OC, so I think they're looking to see if maybe he can create an offense that Derek Carr can thrive in better than Pete Carmichael can. Um, there's some questions about the team that I still have, like the health of my O line, who's going to be playing left tackle, Ryan Ramczyk, will he be able to start the year? Um, Michael Thomas, he's off the team now, which we've kind of been dealing with, but it's official come June 1st, and now it's a new era of is Olave going to be our number one? Is A.T. Perry, who had limited snaps next year, is he going to solidify himself as our wide receiver 3? Can Rashid Shaheed take that next step? I also have questions about our D line. Will Chase Young be that difference that we need at the edge position? Um, is Lattimore gonna be still wearing black and gold when the season starts? Like, there's some questions, but I do have a positive outlook on the team. I like what we did in the draft. We're getting Kool-Aid. Bub Means is a wide receiver I think has great potential that can give us those snaps that we need. We also got some O-line depth. We got some defensive depth. So I like what we did. I like how we're looking. But until those questions are answered, I just can't project us to be any higher than where we at this current moment.
Jay, Mick, or Dre, either one of y'all want to touch on it first? Thanks at 22.
Yeah, I might go first. So as far as like I kind of agree with you saying. Like I was never high on Dennis Allen. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so I remember Dennis Allen with the Raiders, and that was a dumpster fire. I didn't really expect anything different. Omni from Dennis Allen. The one thing I can say is last year I did expect Derek Carr to play better than what he played because he was kind of bad in a lot of those games, and he's the reason why a lot of them games were winnable, and he just didn't play well in those games. So I'm looking for a bounce back. Like I'm not expecting him to be a top 5 quarterback, but I mean, if the Saints want to win 9-10 games, like he gonna have to be like around 15 to 17, as far as ranking quarterbacks go. I mean, if he's doing that, then I think the Saints will be fine. I have heard chatter of the whole Marshawn getting traded and Lattimore getting traded and all that. Like I seen a tweet, earlier in the week. Like sample trades or whatever. If I was the Saints, I'd just keep him though. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like I think he's obviously the best corner that they have, in my opinion. And I think if you let him go, I think it's going to severely hurt that defense. As far as the draft goes, I wasn't super high on Kool-Aid, and so when I said it, let me explain. Like I wasn't high on him being a first round pick. Like that's what I wasn't high on. Like him as a second round pick, I don't have really like much issue with it. And I think they're gonna fit. I think he's gonna fit their system good. And they got a bunch of good corners over there, anyways. And then they also drafted Bud Means out of Pittsburgh. He's a wide receiver that a lot of people didn't know about. I mean, he was linked to the Chiefs and the Patriots, so I kind of have a good understanding of him. And I just feel like I don't think the Saints are going to miss Michael Thomas. I mean, I think it comes to a point, I mean, you play for a team for so long, and he was quite injured with the team over the last couple of years. I think it's best for both parties that he left the team for himself and the team. And then the team has plenty of good, wide receivers. So it's not like they're hurting that wide receiver, either. So, but yeah, and I think the Saints, we got them 22, but if Derek Carr, like I said in the beginning, Derek Carr plays better, then I think they could be ranked higher than that. Like I think they could find themselves in the top 20.
Yeah, I could see that. Like you said, it's depending on Derek Carr's play. I don't know if I really believe in Derek Carr. I don't know if Derek Carr is really going to pick it up this year. So I guess we'll see. And Dennis Allen, I was surprised he didn't get fired, but for some reason, your organization wants to keep him around. I know some of your fans were trying to put together a billboard with "Fire Dennis Allen," and I guess the team kind of blocked it, or they got involved in some way and made sure that didn't happen. So for some reason, your organization is high on him. I think at one point, your organization compared him to Bill Belichick, which I think was disgusting. But it is what it is.
Not just Bill. He named like a multitude of coaches that have won championships and said, "Look how they started their first year. You got to give them a chance. You got to give them an opportunity. You don't know if you have greatness in the building." That was his exact word. That was his word.
Yeah, it was disgusting. I could definitely see the Saints being better than what we have them ranked right now. But I could also see the wheels falling off and them being worse than what we have them ranked right now. So it's kind of like a toss-up with the Saints. The Saints are, to me, unknown. There's not really much I can say about that right now.
I think like the upside, like you do got a lot of explosive pieces. Like Rashid is pretty decent. Like I see him have some good games last year where he was able to explode with Derek Carr, with Jameis Winston, with the multitude of quarterbacks they put in. He was able to still produce. Chris Olave, he get it in. Like Alvin Kamara won't be out for the first half of the season like he was last year. So you get a chance to kind of run the whole team. And I think they defense, even though they got some question marks, I think they got a lot of answers on that defensive side of the ball too. You know what I'm saying? They got a pretty good safety room. Their cornerback room isn't horrific. You know what I'm saying? They play bad in division, but outside of the division, they play pretty well. And they like to slap Mike Evans every now and then, but they like to, Marshawn Lattimore like to fight the man. I don't understand why they get into it so much. And then they be like, oh, it's no problem. But I think they're in a spot of you're gonna be a decent team. And if you get good quarterback play, you could be a good team. But I don't think they're gonna be a bad team. So even though Dre, you say you can see them moving, I still don't see them in the bottom five. Even with what they have, I don't see them in the bottom five. I think they still finish somewhere between 22 and maybe 26, 7. You know what I'm saying? I don't see them falling too far because they have a team that's built. It's just hard to see them in that bottom five. But I would have some more. I'd probably be a little bit higher if you let Spencer Rattler play at some point. To be honest, I think he got some upside. Just being real.
And I forgot that they drafted Christian Boyd too. I forgot about that because the funny thing about Christian was a lot of people wanted Christian Boyd too.
Oh, the D tackle?
Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah, nah. When we did that, when we did the 7-round draft, I mocked him to us, and I was hoping that he was one of them picks that we could get in the 5th to 6th round. Because, like I said, there was a lot of teams high on him, and when we got him, I said, okay, this is nice. This is a nice pick for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. All right, so we gonna.
Hey, Steezy, you worry about them construction workers, all right, and don't worry about my quarterback room.
Whoa, Taysom Hill? Nah, man, that's nah. Hey, listen, if Taysom Hill gotta play quality games, then that's when I can say they're gonna be bottom 5. At that point, I'm gonna just be like, my bad, Pop. I tried to give you hope. That man is not a starting quarterback for long periods. He can play maybe a game, and that game is gonna be very ugly.
Hey, Smitty, Sean Payton tried to lie to me to say that he was a starter quarterback. Sir, I can see with my own eyes that is not the case.
Hey, Pop, somebody from your fan base told me he's the best overall football player in the league.
Sir, anyway.
I digress. I digress. I digress. That's all she has to say. I digress. I don't know what to tell you. You might want to go back and talk to them and see what their football acumen is, because they definitely don't know ball. They do not know ball. All right. The next team on the list, man. I think we got them at 21 for a couple of reasons, right? And they might could have been higher. I think you don't know what Marvin Harrison Jr. putting on the board yet, but on paper, they probably got a top 3 wide receiver room. They got a 1-2 punch in the backfield that if they get going, DeAndre Swift and Herbert, ain't that his name? How you say his last name?
Nah, 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 nah. It's not Herbert. It's Rojo. Roshan Johnson.
It's who? It's Johnson.
Rojo.
Johnson. They got
Yeah,
rid of Herbert.
Roshan.
They got rid of him. All right, so they got Roshan. Oh, they got Roshan? Interesting. But you got it, and then you got a tight end, Cole Kmet.
He's just a third down back. That's all.
He third who?
Khalil Herbert. He's still on the team.
Yeah, okay.
He's gonna be the returner though. He's gonna be the returner. But the 1-2 punches, it's Swift and Rojo. Those are
Okay.
1 and 2.
All right, that's fine. I thought Herbert was on the team. You had me crazy. I was like, huh? All right, so but he the third down back, because I remember him last year getting a lot of little carries, so I thought he'd still be in the rotation. You got Cole Kmet, pretty good tight end, probably arguably top 10 in the league right now. You got arguably the best quarterback coming out of the draft, in some's opinion. So he could be an upside. The only thing I have a problem with is probably the OC. I don't know if he know how to manage quarterbacks, because it just seems like everywhere he's been, I don't think you can pull out where he developed anybody. If you can, I could be wrong, but I don't remember him really having a developed quarterback he didn't have success with a quarterback that he developed. But the defensive side of the ball is pretty good too.
Yeah, but the thing about that OC, he knew there though, because like the other one went to the Raiders, so they got a whole new OC anyways. So
Yeah, they got Shane Waldron.
They got Shane Waldron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So who they kept? Who did they retain then? The head coach?
the head coach.
Eberflus.
decent, yeah.
They kept Eberflus. I thought they kept the OC for some reason.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Nah.
Eberflus is a dumpster fire too.
But I will say this: when Eberflus took over the defense and started calling it, that defense looked way better.
Yeah.
Once he took over, I think,
Who?
don't quote me on this, but I think they were
Who
a
took over
top
the
10
defense?
unit. Eberflus. When Eberflus took over the defense, I think they were a top 10 unit from that point on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the defense the second half of the year, like they were like a top 10, top 15 defense. So, but that's just for the second half, obviously. Like, I mean, if you don't count the first half. So that, like I've been saying a lot about the Bears. Like that's what the kind of questions I have is about their defenses. Are you going to see the first half defense, or are you going to see the second half defense?
I would tend to say it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it'll be a top 10 off the bat, but I don't think they'll be as bad as they were to begin the season last year, because he wasn't calling the plays. Like, he wasn't calling the defense to begin the season. They had a lot going on over there in Chicago, and like I said, once he took over control, they were a top 10 unit. So I think that's why he was able to keep his job, and they just made him like kind of bring in a new staff. I think the plan was for him to be the head coach, yes, but call the defense and bring in an offensive coordinator to kind of do his own thing. And I think Shane Waldron is a good hire. If I'm not mistaken, Shane Waldron actually has some history of working with Caleb, because he does like this QB camp like every summer. And some of the better quarterbacks show up at that camp. And Shane Waldron, I think, is one of like 30 people that works with the quarterbacks there. So there was some connection between the two already. They're kind of familiar with one another. So yeah, I don't know. I like the hire. I think Shane Waldron could work out with Caleb.
Yeah, I don't really have too many concerns about the defense. I think the defense will see at least a good portion of what we saw last year. They could honestly, I think they have a potential to be even better than what we saw in the latter part of the season. Um, I think what the Bears did was great. They surrounded their rookie quarterback with a lot of talent and got him a OC. I think will work really well. So I think the reason why the Bears are here is just because of that reason. We don't know what Caleb Williams is as an NFL quarterback, but we do know that he has potential to lift the Bears up out of the position that they're in right now.
And shout out to Antoine. Joe Walt is the offensive player of the year. I mean, that's how you feel, Antoine.
I mean, the only issue with the Bears though is like their team got a lot better because not just looking at the draft and drafting Caleb Williams and Rome Doomsday. I mean, they also acquired Keenan Allen via trade away one day draft picks. So I mean, they've made a lot of improvements. My only issue is that division. That division kind of crazy. And I ain't said that about the NFC North for a long time, but you got the Lions, who's the champs of the division. They almost made a Super Bowl. You got the Packers, who made the playoffs as a wild card, and they won one playoff game. And some people say they should have beat the 49ers. So you got that, and then you still got the Vikings that's just sitting there. The Vikings got a solid roster, but they drafted JJ McCarthy, so you got to kind of see how the JJ thing go. And then you got the Bears. So like that division is set up for at least the next 2 to 3 years to be a very difficult division. And so I think that's kind of why we got the Bears where they're at, because like I mean, pretty much everybody said like we like a lot of the moves that they made, whether you're talking about the draft or free agency or like via trade or whatever. But for me, it's just that division. And for me, I still got the Lions winning that division, as of today. So it's going to be difficult for them.
Okay, so I didn't know they fired Luke. I thought Luke Getsy was still the OC. That's why I was kind of like, this is gonna be bad. But Shane Waldron decent. I didn't even know they fired old buddy.
Yeah, Waldron. I mean, when he was with Seattle, he was with Seattle for 2 years, and before Seattle, wasn't he with Tampa Bay? If I'm not mistaken.
No, he was with the Rams.
He was with the Rams. All right, no, he was all right. He was with the Rams, but
and then he was with the Patriots.
2 years in Seattle. I mean, year one was the Rashad Penny breakout year, right? That was his first year with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And then they got K9, and K9 finished like second for offensive rookie of the year. A pretty good season. I think DK and Tyler Lockett both had over 1,000 yards. So I think it's I mean, they're going to throw the ball a lot, but it's still kind of a balanced offense. It's going to be a nice mix of run and pass.
And Chicago too, so it's hard to even move them around because, as Steezy said, we know the history of that team, man. It's just you want to have all the hope in the world, but the Bears the Bears been bearing since '85.
And they never had a quarterback that's thrown over 4,000 yards and thrown for 30 touchdowns.
They've never had
crazy.
one.
I didn't know that. But my only question, like, when we say the history of the Bears, we could say the same thing about the Chiefs up until they got Patrick Mahomes, right? They didn't have a history of being this historically great franchise.
They had a 50-year slump.
That's all I'm saying. Like, once you get that guy,
they
did have a couple decent quarterbacks in that 50-year span.
Yeah, but that's never like. So let me just put it like this: like, if you exclude the '80s, like in the '90s, they were good. It just didn't win. They were pretty good in the. They were making the playoffs consistently. They just weren't winning playoff games. So it's not. They don't have the same tradition as the Bears in terms of not having good quarterbacks, because they've had good quarterbacks.
But I'm saying they weren't like.
I don't think
they're
nobody
not this
had
historic franchise either.
I don't think nobody had a worse than the Browns.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the Browns is leading this discussion about the worst quarterbacks over a 20-year stretch. I mean, I don't think anybody topping that.
It has to be the Browns and then probably the Jets, right?
Yeah, I mean the Jets have had They had a couple years of Brett Favre, and now they got a couple years of Rodgers.
But they didn't. We talking about development though. We talking about
just don't really
development.
develop quarterbacks like that.
They last developed quarterback wasn't even good. That was your boy Chad Pennington. He wasn't even good like that. He was decent.
You got Mark Sanchez, but he wasn't all that good.
He had a 2-year stretch though, and then he fell off the cliff.
I mean, but they didn't develop him though. Like I think they didn't. I don't think they drafted him. I think he went there as a free agent. I think the last quarterback they developed was Mark Sanchez, who took them to 2 AFC Championship games. That's the last one.
And he fell off so hard. Can you even count him?
I mean, he was a quarterback of a team that went to 2 AFC Championship games, man. I mean,
his floor was.
I mean, that might be true, but I get it. The defense was leading those teams, but he was still the quarterback. He still at certain points in some of those runs to get to the AFC Championship game, he had to make throws, and he made those throws at times. So
he did. Now he made some good.
I'll give him credit for that.
He beat Neff. I bet with the Chargers in that game, he beat Neff them in the division. I was so damn mad. I was like, how
we beat the Patriots too, though. I mean, the one year when we beat the brakes off of them in the last game, I think we beat them like 45-3 in the last game of the regular season, and then we faced them in the divisional, and then we end up losing to them. So, and I mean, Mark was the quarterback, so I mean, it is what it is.
Sheesh, Mark Sanchez, that's crazy. But it is teams though. Like sometimes I be like wondering, like when you look at teams, is there teams that? Oh yeah, he came from Miami. No, he can't. He got drafted by the Jets. He got drafted by the Jets.
Okay. So then I guess he went. He was with the Jets.
Last time they drafted and developed a quarterback was 2000.
Yeah, so it must have been he got drafted by the Jets and then he went to Miami because
he went to Miami in 2008.
Yeah, because I mean his years in Miami were his best years. So
I mean the Commanders have had some.
That first year in Miami, was his best year. He had 30. He went for almost 3,700 and 19 touchdowns.
I feel like the Commanders have drafted pretty good quarterbacks though. Like they drafted RG3. He just got hurt. They drafted Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins been playing for 10, 15 years.
That's but I'm talking about just in their uniforms. You had RG3 for a season. You had Kirk for
season and a half.
No, I mean Kirk was there longer because they franchised Kirk for 2 years.
Kirk was there for maybe.
No, I was talking about what's it called? He had it for about a season and a half.
I think Kirk was there for about 3 to 4 seasons.
And you got to throw in the fact
there for a couple.
Dwayne Haskins, unfortunately, he passed away, so that I don't consider him to be a bust. It's just
but he wasn't even on that team at that time anymore.
Yeah, but I thought they drafted him.
They drafted him, but they got rid of him. They sent him to the Steelers.
And then they also drafted Sam Howell. And Sam Howell had a productive, if you just look at the stats, production-wise, he was productive. Now, I mean, I ain't saying he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback or anything, but like to me, there's worse teams drafting quarterbacks than the Commanders, though. So
I can't use Carolina. They've been pretty decent.
I mean,
but hold on, wait. Outside of Cam,
they had Jake Delhomme
and Jake. I was gonna say outside of Cam and Jake,
but they only been around for like 26 years.
They only been around a little bit. Yeah, you can't really use.
So to have had Jake Delhomme and Cam Newton, that's for a franchise only been there 26 years. That's pretty good, man.
You can't use the Texans. They ain't been around long enough, and then they got C.J. Stroud and they got Deshaun Watson. But before that, David Carr and everything before Deshaun Watson was buns.
I mean, Matt Sharp had like 2 or 3 good seasons.
Decent. He had decent seasons.
I'm talking about he damn near threw for 5,000 yards one year.
5,000?
I was surprised. Let me make sure. Hold on, Matt Sharp, because I was having a conversation about Matt Sharp the other day, and I was surprised when I went back and looked at some of these numbers. Matt Sharp had some good numbers.
Yeah, I mean, low key, like Matt Sharp wasn't a terrible quarterback. He just wasn't.
Oh yeah, he had a 4,700 yard season.
Yeah, 4,700, and followed that up with 4,300. Then he got hurt. And then the season after that, he had another 4,000 yard year. So 3 out of 4 years, he had 4,000, and the one he didn't have 4,000, he was hurt. Matt Sharp he was all right, bro.
This man said, "Y'all will respect Tyler Thigpen." No, we will not. We will not
At all.
respect Tyler Thigpen under no circumstances. He was trash.
I think it's because he got so many dumpster fire seasons outside of those 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, one of those seasons, like I would have to go back and look like what was going on in the beginning of his career because he was playing when he was at Atlanta. He was playing 16 games. I don't know. I guess they were just bringing him into games, or did they count that because he was the
I
holder?
don't know.
Maybe
I think that's what it is. The first part of his career is kind of buns. When he first
he
got to
didn't
Houston,
really.
he played.
And
There's
one
no way he started a lot of games. Like you're talking about 33.
Tom Vick was there, right?
No, I'm looking at it. He only started one game in 2004, only one game in 2005. He didn't start
Yeah,
any games in
But that's when
2006.
Vick was there, though. That's
yeah,
why.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
And
that's
then
it.
when he went to the Texans,
He got
year
11,
one,
11, 16.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's why he wasn't really playing games with the Falcons because obviously, I mean, if you
yeah,
were Vick on the team, like you wasn't unless Vick was hurt, you wasn't playing.
no facts. I bet they wish they would have kept him though, because like a year or two after that is when Vic was gone. So
Yeah, but then they drafted Matt Ryan. Like I think
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say I
it
think
ended
they're
up working
pretty
out.
happy with
that long.
Matt.
It
I
ended
mean,
up working out.
I mean, like low key, the Falcons have had good quarterbacks though, low key for a while, but they just ain't won shit. They just ain't won nothing.
Who did they have before Vic?
Before Vic in the '90s, I thought the quarterback that got them to that Super Bowl in '96. What was that dude's name? Was it it wasn't Humphreys, was it? I
I
don't
can't
think it was
remember what
Humphreys.
his name was.
I couldn't tell you.
And there was a white boy though, and I believe he was wearing number 12. I just don't remember what his name was. Because I mean, he definitely got him to the Super Bowl with that whole that whole like Jamal Anderson team. Just can't remember his name though.
I see in '93 they had somebody named Bobby Herbert.
Yeah, and I remember him because I think that's around the time that they had Brett Favre. Like I think they drafted Brett Favre around that same time. I think Brett Favre drafted like 90, maybe 90 or 91. I think, or maybe before that. I think it was 99.
They had somebody named Tony Garzania,
Yeah, I don't think he
Wade
played
Wilson.
All of that is before my time. I can't help y'all there.
Yeah, those aren't the dudes that got to the Super Bowl though. When they, I forgot.
You said Super Bowl, right?
It was. I think the Super Bowl was 90. Was it 96 or 97?
Chris Chandler or Bobby
Oh
Herbert?
yeah. That's it. And yeah. I mean, it's Chris Chandler. That's it.
Because
Right
Bobby
there.
Herbert was a starter in '96, and Chris Chandler took over in '97 through 2001.
Yeah, like Chris Chandler wasn't. He wasn't like an elite guy, but he did get them to the Super Bowl though. So, and I mean, their offense that year was really good. So, I mean, Atlanta don't have a. They actually have a good history with quarterbacks. It's just recently they haven't really been able to get one.
And could you say the Chargers have been the biggest disappointment of the last 30 years as far as what they've had at the quarterback position and the results they've gotten out of it?
It's not even just the quarterback position. It's the whole team. Like in the '90s and the 2000s, like they had some really talent-laden teams and they didn't win anything. And I get it. Part of that is the Tom Brady era in the AFC, but I mean for them to have like LT and Antonio Gates and like the quarterback that they had at the time, and that's just I'm just talking about offense. I didn't even get to the defensive side of the ball when they had Junior Seau and a whole bunch of other dudes, and they just didn't get to the Super Bowl. So I'd have to agree with you.
Yeah, definitely, I can agree with that.
It felt like Michael Vick run was longer than that.
No, it wasn't. It was maybe what, a 4 or 5 year run.
Yeah, because so he got drafted in 2001, but he didn't play but 2 games. Then he played 15 in 2002. He got hurt in 2003, so he only played 4 games. Then 2004 he played 15, 2005, 2006. Then it was over. Damn.
Yeah, but I think it don't feel that long, but like the amount of highlights that he gave you in that short time is what makes it feel so long.
That's what I'm saying. It felt longer. Like it felt like he had so many damn highlights.
Yeah, but then again, I mean,
let's get there.
and he did his time,
Go
and then he
ahead.
went to the Eagles, and then he was
Yeah.
better processor at that point. So
He had time to process everything. You hear me?
well, I mean, he was actually studying the game when he went to the Eagles. That's why.
No, I'm talking about when he went to the Slammer. He was processing everything.
Yeah, he was.
All right, but at 20, the Seahawks, man, we bring in the Seahawks, the first team of the top 20. This team, hey, look, this right here was tough.
Yeah, it was
Jesus
tough.
Christ.
Yeah,
Oh man.
it was super tough.
He's shaking his head, so go ahead, Dre. You shaking your head? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go right ahead. Let's go.
I'm a lot higher on this Seahawks team than probably most people are, not just here, but just in general. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about the Seahawks team. I think it's going to be one of those teams that surprises a lot of people. I think McDonald, he should have that defense right over there with them, and I'm a believer in that offensive system that they're bringing in from Washington. I feel like they have the weapons. I mean, in JSN, DK, and Tyler Lockett. Then you throw in Noah Fant with that, and you got the two-headed monster running back. The offensive line, when healthy, is I'll say at least top 15 in the NFL. And the only thing is just Geno. But I think if Geno has the time to actually throw the ball and he's not under pressure consistently, I think they'll be all right. And I got them making the playoffs. I got them at least being a top 16 team because I got them in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I
Just to
can
let
agree
everybody
with that
know, that
point,
man argued
Dre.
for them to be way higher for about 25 minutes, 35 minutes. And then we stopped arguing. We started voting on other teams to try to get the list. He went back like, hey, I think, we should redo this.
Yeah,
And
I'm just
Uh,
saying. Some of
I
the
think
moves they
we
made on
talked
defense too,
about
man.
this for a good hour, trying
it
to
was like an
figure
hour
it
and a, oh
out.
yeah, the Seahawks in total,
Yeah,
yes, about an hour.
yeah,
About an hour.
yeah. We talked about this for an hour, but I do agree with your points, Dre. And I think one of the issues I had with the Seahawks defense last year, they weren't that good with the run, and I think McDonald will help make that unit a little bit better. I think they have a solid secondary. I really do like the secondary pieces that they have over there. Um, and overall, I really am high on the Seahawks. I think they will be a wild card team this year. I just think the production of Geno and, like I said, the issues that they were having with defense, with injuries and stuff like that, kind of had them where they are now. But I do think that's a solid team. I especially like that trio they have at wide receiver. Noah Fant is a very good tight end for them. So I think overall, that's a team to be on the lookout for.
They also added one of the best guards in the draft in Christian Haynes to that offensive line, which should help them too. And that defense, man. You talking about Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, and Byron Murphy. That's your three up
Yeah.
front right there. Come on, man. That right
Yeah.
there is nasty. And then I like the secondary. Now linebackers, well, we got to see about the linebackers. I think they got too much talent to not make the playoffs this year. I got them going.
I just don't agree. I'm gonna just be real with you. Like, I don't even think they're the second best team in their own division. Like, I think the Rams are better than them. I mean, personally, like I like what the Rams have at personally. I mean, the Rams. I get it that they lost AD. Like, I get that. Like, he's a generational interior defensive lineman. I get it. Um, but like when I look at that division, I don't think they finished second. I think they finished third behind the Rams. I just think the Rams roster wise, like my issue with the Rams last year was their defense, and I think they went into the draft and they addressed it. And so like my biggest issue with the Seahawks is Geno. Like, that's just I've always had an issue with Geno because I just think he's had one outlier year, his first year with the Seahawks, and when he had Dave Canales, who is now in Carolina, who also did a number for Tampa Bay with a Baker last year. Like he coached Baker up, he coached Geno up, and now he's going to be coaching Bryce. And I expect him to coach Bryce up. And like once he left Geno didn't that one outlier year, he didn't have that same kind of year last year. And I get it, he's got great weapons at the wide receiver position, But the two tackles that they drafted 2 years ago, their rookie year, they had great years. Last year, they kind of regressed. So I don't know what I mean, like those tackles are going to give me. So I mean, I had one great year and one questionable year, and now I'm sitting in the third year for them, and I'm just not sure what they're going to give me. And then like defensively last year, they could not stop the run. Like that's something that they could not do. So yeah, I mean, they had drafted players to address that. So I just gotta see how that goes in terms of them stopping the run. And then I'm not gonna speak on the linebackers because I don't think the linebackers are that good anyways. Secondary wise, they drafted Witherspoon, and I like Witherspoon. It's just he just got to stay healthy. And I'm not saying he has a history of getting hurt. It's just he's literally, in my opinion, he's their best corner. So or at least last year he played the best because Woolen, who had a great rookie year, do regress last year. So it's like you kind of gotta like that's for me. There's a lot of moving pieces for for that team, and there's like certain players that had great rookie years and then they regress their second year. So I got to see how they play in their third year.
Now, can I ask you a question? When you say the tackles regress, I give you Charles Cross because Charles Cross he played, I think it was in 13 games. But Abraham Lucas was on IR for most of the season. So by the time he actually started playing, I mean that's late in the season. You kind of rusty, especially in year two. That's a hard thing to do. Like I think when you've been in the league and you're a seasoned vet, it's a little bit easier because you're already acclimated to the NFL game. But going into your second year, starting on IR and coming somewhere throughout the season, like I think he played a total of 6 games last year. Is it really fair to say he regressed, or is it just coming off an injury?
No, I'm comparing his first year to his second year. And his first year was good. His first year was both of those tackles. Their first year was really, really good because people were talking about in that draft when they drafted Cross and Woolen that they hit on all their rookie starters that they had drafted that year. And I'm just comparing his first year to his second year. I mean, you could throw injury in there, but when I compare the 2 years, it's his level of play it just regressed. Like, and I'm not saying that he can't be more like his first year. I just don't know, you had 1 year where you were really good. You had another year where you were hurt and you weren't as good. So it's like, I don't coming into your third year. I got to see what you do. I'm not saying you're going to be great. I'm not saying you're going to be bad. I have 2 years to judge it off of. 1 year was really good and 1 year was so-so. So I got to see how you come back for your third year.
But can you judge it? Can you really judge honestly the second year when
That's the only sample size you have? You have to.
He didn't play enough. I don't think he played enough games. Like he didn't even play half of a season last year.
I mean, I still got to be able to judge it.
Then you come if that's the case, right? Now you're coming off an injury, so now I got to put an asterisk anyways. So it's still the same thing.
Well, he started the season hurt. He finished the season healthy.
Yeah,
he started on IR.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I got to be able to look at the games that he's played in his rookie campaign to his sophomore or his second year, and I just got to compare. Like I got to call a spade a spade. Like if you regress, then you regress. I can say you regress because you were injured, but it's still a regression. And so, I mean, what's to say that he'll play in his third year and then he don't get hurt again? Because he's shown you that he's gotten hurt 1 year. So I'm not saying he's like an injury laden player or whatever. But it's like I gotta, if I'm comparing your only 2 years you played in the league, I gotta compare the two. I mean, you can always use context behind it and say he came to the season hurt. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But if I'm just looking at the games from season to season, I gotta say his play regressed. And like I said, you can say this due to injury. I'm fine with that. Like I have no issue with that.
Okay. Yeah, and I think year 3, we'll have to see if that regression is a true regression or if he can step up to that rookie level of play in year 3 or even supersede that. So we'll have to see. That's a question mark for them.
This is an interesting dynamic with the Seahawks, right? Because I voted them with J Mick. I was kind of on J Mick's side. Like, I think, like, yeah, you addressed the tackle again, but I felt like you had addressed it last year and you still didn't really get better in the run. But Mike McDaniel's coming in, so we're gonna see what he's able to do to adjust the defense and stop the run. I felt like we got to see Woolen go back to the player he was, because last year he wasn't the player he was in 2022. Like 2022, dude was everywhere, and then last year it just seemed like maybe because what damn, the one they drafted last year, the corner,
And Witherspoon.
Witherspoon. Maybe because Witherspoon was playing so well, it may have dimmed the light on how good Willen may have played last year, but the stats don't even look the same. You know what I mean? So I think when they all get together, if they can stay healthy, maybe they could be higher. But Geno still give me the icks. Like I know who Geno was at the Jets. Like I know who he was without David Canales last year. Like I seen him be timid again. Like I seen him not be able to feel comfortable and play football as the quarterback he played in 2022. Like so, I want to see like um if somehow that they can figure out a way to get him some easier throws, give him better run game. If did K9 stay healthy last year? Did he play the whole 17 games?
Who?
He played 15 out of 17 games.
Yeah, but I
Okay,
think there were some games in there where he didn't finish some of those games, though. I think so. That's another thing.
but they got Charbonnet, so I
Yeah,
like
so I mean,
Charbonnet too.
like their running back room is set. Like even if Walker gets hurt, I mean, they still got Charbonnet, and I think they got a third running back behind Charbonnet as well. So I'm not concerned, I mean, with that room if Walker was to get a hurt or like injured or whatever.
Not about injury for me. I was just gonna say, did he stay healthy? Because if they all stay healthy last year, then
I don't even think Charbonnet stayed. I think Charbonnet he had like a shoulder situation.
he got limited. No, didn't he get limited carries?
McIntosh was is the running back 3 over there from Georgia. And as far as hold on, let me see if I can find any information about the injury. Hold on, I'll come back.
I know he was getting. So I know his carries went up at one point because K9 was dealing with like an ankle or something, and then he ended up having to go down. Somebody else
found it. Charbonnet was questionable for 2 games, but so even if he didn't play in those 2 games, because I'm just looking at a chart of the different injuries from them last year. It just says questionable. It doesn't say if he played or not. But even if we assume he didn't play in those games, he played 15 out of 17 games. And I think that is still really good for NFL players. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a lot of players that are just playing all 17 every year. Like, if you're telling me I can get 15 out of 17 games out of you a year, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and also even with the injuries, that was a really productive running back room. So I don't really have too many concerns for that position for them. I think the question is, what are we going to get out of Geno? Because I think that team is set. It's just the quarterback play that's the real outlier for them.
Yeah, I mean, like Geno's the question, and on defense, can they stop the run? They had a hell of a time stopping the run last year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And
then they also got a new head coach too, and I assume he's going to be running the defense. So I assume the defense is going to be better, but he's also first time. He's never been a head coach before, so you kind of got to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I do think that the Seahawks run defense will be a lot better than it was last year. I don't know by how much, but I know for a fact it will be better.
It definitely should. I think the whole defense probably gonna play a tad bit better because sometimes you need that fresh air, man. You know what I'm saying? Pete been there for a long, long time. He was stuck in a lot of the old ways. You need somebody to come in, relate to the players, make them. You know what I'm saying? But I think, if I'm not mistaken, ain't Pete still kind of with the team or something like that?
I think he's in the front office. I think.
Yeah. So, well, maybe you still gonna have a little piece of Pete in there because sometimes you can't go with football. But I think they're gonna be in a decent situation, man. If Geno can give them some of that same play he gave a few times last year, but majority when he played a great season in 2022. If he can get back to that, being a little bit more conservative with the ball, you know what I'm saying? Being a game manager, just let your defense keep the game close and you just don't make the mistakes that, get you out of it. I think they can have a productive season. At 20, man, I know it says they'll miss the playoffs, but anything can shake out. You know what I'm saying? But I do think they'll be third in the division, though. I think the Rams, be second. I think 49ers will be first. You know what I'm saying? So
And you got to watch out for the Cardinals, man. I know they only won 4 games, but
I was going to say, and then I was going to say that you got the Cardinals that could instantly catch fire again and be somewhere in contention for it too. So it could be a 3-way battle for that second spot. To be honest.
So, quick question: do you think that they have potential to dethrone the AFC North as the best division in football this year?
Not quite.
And I
I
think
don't
the
think
AFC
so.
South is going to be a good division too, though. I mean, every team. Like if you look at that division too, like I think I think you can actually talk about them as being like one of the better divisions in football as well.
True.
But I mean, but the West is just, for me, it's like the Cardinals. Like if the Cardinals are better, then they might be in that conversation. But right now, the Cardinals is kind of holding them back from being the best division in football.
Yeah, now
Yeah, that
that's what I was alluding to. Like if the Cardinals take that jump, which they could potentially be a better team this year, then I mean, they're at least in the argument for sure.
yeah, I think you can make an argument, but we have to see what the production of the Cardinals is this year. Um,
I think the what's it call it could be knocking on the door. The NFC North. Ain't it the North?
yeah,
The North is Green Bay then, right?
yeah, Green Bay, Lions,
I think they knocking on the door.
Vikings,
If
Bears.
Chicago
The
if
thing,
Chicago can if Chicago can get a little kick in their ass and get back to, playing real football.
but
No,
the
no,
question mark with the North is who is JJ McCarthy as a
yeah.
quarterback,
Oh,
and
I
that's the
forgot they
big
got
question mark.
JJ.
Yeah, so we don't even know.
Damn.
We don't know
Never
what type of
mind. Never
quarterback
mind.
play
I
we're
take that
gonna
back.
get out of him. Now, I'm not
I,
saying I don't
up,
think
up,
he's a
up,
bum or
up, up,
anything, but
Pop. I
we
said I
just
take
don't
it back
know.
because never mind. Never mind. Big question mark.
Yeah, so
Shit, that's
um
a big one.
yeah, so I don't know, but I do think that the NFC North is trending to
But
be one of the best, but
if they still
we
had
just
Kurt though, I would have
we
put him there. I would definitely have put
Hey,
him in that contention.
real quick, fair commented. He said, he pulled his comment back up. What he had
Geno
said.
Smith,
He said,
34 plus.
you also seen, yeah, you seen Geno Smith put up 34 plus hurt on the top 5 Cowboys defense. I'm just saying, man. I don't know, man. I like the Seahawks. I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
gonna
and
be
I want to
surprised.
see
we also
and
seen
I
him
want
come
to
out
see
flat in a couple of games too.
JSN like what JSN production is going to be. I think he was pretty good for them, and I just want to see like
Hey,
the step that
didn't
he
we see
made.
what was that game that Geno Smith blew? Didn't he throw like 3 or 4 interceptions or something in the game? Three interceptions?
I'm not sure which particular game that was, but hold on.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
think
not
it
that high.
was wasn't it like that Detroit game or something where they kept throwing interceptions?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, and I think if they was in another division, I think they would have a better chance of making the playoffs. But when you're in a division where you got to play the Niners twice and you got to play the Rams twice, and then like the funny thing about the NFC West that I've learned over the years is like certain teams, like I think it's like the Cardinals play. The Cardinals either play the Rams tough or they play the Seahawks tough. I cannot remember which one it is. It's
It's
like
the Rams.
it's the Rams, so they play the Rams tough. Um, and then but the Cardinals don't play any other team tough in that division really, and it's like I mean it's kind of like a cycle
So,
in that division.
Yeah, the
Smitty, I looked
Seahawks
it
and the
up.
49ers always have great games.
I looked it
No,
up,
what?
Smitty. He had 2 interceptions against Cleveland, but they won that game. And
No, I'm talking about the Cincinnati game where he
he
had
had two
326 and 2
interceptions
interceptions.
against yeah, he had 2 interceptions against Cincinnati and they lost that game by 4 points. I mean,
I mean, a 4-point loss with two interceptions, that's not bad.
He didn't score at all though.
Mm.
yeah.
I mean, to me he has a lot of games where he either has one touchdown or no touchdown passes, and
Hey,
I
and Pop, he was
the
going
ball
against Jake Browning too.
so.
It wasn't Joe Burrow, it was Jake Browning.
So that was in the letter. What
Yeah,
No,
what
that
week
was
was that?
that was early in the season though. What week did
That's
Joe
early.
Burrow go out?
Didn't he
Yeah.
get hurt like week 4 or 5?
No,
And he came back. Remember, he went down and came back, didn't he?
I thought,
Yeah.
I thought it was like week 9 or something, 9 or 10.
But
yeah,
he
because
no.
Joe
He went
Burrow,
down. He
that
went
was game
down. He
5.
came back. Let me see.
That
Game 5.
I
that
mean,
was
and
game 5 of the year.
I
Yeah,
mean, the
because I
game
was gonna say I don't think
that
Joe
Ravens
went out
game.
until maybe a little later in the season.
Yeah,
Let me
that
see. Joe Burrow game 5.
I
Let me
think
see.
he I think he I think Jake Brown had started the first 2 games. I don't remember. It was a long time ago now, but
Now,
I
what
know
team
what you're
he play
saying. But
for?
I think
Hold on. What team he play for?
what Joe
The
Burrow?
I
Seahawks.
mean, Joe Burrow didn't go down to week 11 because I mean, it was that Thursday night game in Baltimore.
Yeah,
And
so he
Yeah,
played in that game.
yeah. The thing is, Joe Burrow was dealing with what was it, that leg injury
yeah, but he was
that he
dealing with that
had?
thing like the
What
whole
is the
year pretty
game?
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had 24 for 35 for 180 in that game. He had a 60 QB. Damn. He played bad too. Shit.
I mean, Joe Burrow
He
really
had
didn't
2
start
touchdowns, 1
well until
interception.
after
He
week
didn't play
5.
good.
Like I think it was that week 5 game against Arizona. Like that's when he started playing better.
Hey, but J Mick, Gino had 2 or more passing touchdowns in 7 of the games last season. So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, but he also had a lot of games where he had 1 touchdown or less.
for
Like
sure, 7 of the games. That means he had 10 where he had 1 or less. So I'm not I'm not saying he's perfect, but I mean he had 7 of those games. That's still not bad.
I just don't trust. Like I've seen Gino for at least 8 to 9 years in the NFL. I've seen him on the Jets, seen him on the Giants, and I've seen him in Seattle. And like I said, the only year that he had a really good season was the season where he was being coached under Dave Canales. Like that was his breakout year. And for me, like when I'm looking at play, like if you've been in the league that long and you only have 1 year where you have crazy stats like the 1 year that he had. And I mean, I think he won comeback player of the year that year. I mean, I just look at it like I mean, you are what you are, and I mean that's just how I look at it. And I don't trust Gino, and I mean I'm gonna be honest about it. So,
Yeah, ain't no wrong with that.
and I just think if you're depending on Gino to win you games, there's just games that he's not going to be able to win you. That's the kind of quarterback he is.
I
And I
will
ain't say
say,
he can't win you anywhere. There's certain games that if you don't have a run game or the team you're facing get out to a big lead and you need him to throw you back in the game, I'm just not trusting him for that.
yeah, I looked back at the 22 season. He had 12 games that year, so he had 5 more games where he passed for 2 or more touchdowns. So it's
And,
definitely a step up.
yeah,
It's
I
damn
mean,
near double.
and he threw for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. So he
Yeah,
threw for 30 TDs and 11 picks. And his rating was higher, his quarterback rating was high, like everything was his completion percentage, like everything was higher. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and I just think Dave Canales has shown that even with Baker, like, see what he did with Baker last year in Tampa Bay. Like Baker had I won't say great year, but Baker had a really good year last year. So that's why I have confidence in Dave Canales when he goes to Carolina to kind of work with Bryce, and I think Bryce is gonna have a bounce back year personally.
All right. So at 19, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, I think my boy Jay Nick was pounding the tables for them, so we'll let him start it off for them. Man.
Yeah, Jacksonville to me is in an interesting situation because I'm like a lot of people are counting Trevor Lawrence out because his rookie year, he had a terrible year, and a lot of people want to throw that out, but it's first year, I mean, you still got to count it. And then he had his first year under Doug Peterson, where he had a really good year. He turned it around, and then last year, his third year, is kind of like it was kind of one of them iffy years where he had some good games and some bad games. He was fumbling the ball a lot, turning the ball over a lot. And to me, the thing about Jacksonville is like I like what they did on defense. I like what on offense too. So like they got Mitch Morris, the center from Buffalo. So I mean that kind of improves their line there. They didn't re-sign Calvin Ridley, so they weren't able to retain him, but they drafted Brian Thomas Jr. in the draft, which I was I'm a I'm pretty high on Thomas. I mean, like I didn't have him as a top 3 wide receiver in the draft. I had him as number 4, but I'm still high on him. The thing is, I think when you couple him with Kirk and I mean Ingram at the tight end, like I think that's a good spot for him to go. So I mean, he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. And I like their running back, ETN. I mean, I think he can have he had a really good year last year, but I think he can have, like an even better year because I don't think that Doug Peterson committed to the run as much as he should have. I mean, like with the kind of line and backs that he has, I think they should commit more to the run. Defensively, I feel like they got better because they signed the guy's name from the 49ers that they signed. Cannot remember his name, but I mean he's an interior D lineman, and that's something that they really needed on that D line.
Armstead?
Yeah, the Armstead. And they're bringing back most of their defense. I mean, their defense is getting a year older. They re-signed Josh Allen, who I mean, if you watch the games and you really look at it, like he's like a top 7-8 pass rusher in the league. That's just what he is, and like he got paid as such. I mean, so they got him coming back on a new contract, so I expect him to have another good year. I do like some of their corners, and I mean, I just feel like they're gonna have a good year. But for me, it's just hard to project how good they're gonna be because it's gonna fall on the quarterback and it's gonna fall on the play calling on offense and how the defense plays. And they're in a tough division, man. Like they're in a division with the Texans. A lot of people expecting a lot of things from the Texans. They're in the division with the Colts. A lot of people expecting the Colts to be better. And the Titans, low key, I mean, a lot of people shit on the Titans, but they made a lot of good moves. Like they made a lot of good moves in free agency and the draft. So that it kind of puts me in limbo with the Jags. Like I think they're going to be good. I just don't know how good they're going to be because of the division that they're in, and like they. I mean, like the thing is, it's great to add new players, but you gotta, you gotta kind of put those players into the mix, and the coaches got to be able to like get the most he can out of them. So that's like I feel like they might be better than 19. But there's a possibility that they could be 19-20. So,
Yeah, I think I'm a little lower on the Jaguars than you. The main thing for me is Trevor Lawrence. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is living off of his name at this point. Now, could he improve? Could he become a better player? Yes. But we're talking about a player that last year, yes. I mean, if you want to compare it to the guy we were just talking about, Geno, he had 300 more yards than Geno, 350 something like that. But he also threw 5 more interceptions and only 1 more touchdown. So as someone, it's like I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, Trevor Lawrence, he's not this guy that everybody touted him to be coming out. He hasn't shown me that. He hasn't been consistent enough for me. Like to me, I just don't see it right now. Like he's gonna have to take a jump for me to really believe in the Jaguars. I don't know. I'm not a believer in Trevor Lawrence at this point.
Ooh, Perry. He's shooting shots. He said Trevor's just the new Kurt. He gonna be good enough to get you some wins, but he ain't gonna be good enough to
I
get you
mean,
over the.
did I lie up until this point? And I don't hate Trevor Lawrence. I hope he does improve. But up until this point, if I mean last year 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's not good.
No,
14 picks is terrible with 21
that's
interceptions.
that's middle of the pack quarterback play for me, and I agree with the point that you made, Dre. He hasn't been consistent enough for me to feel like he's going to lift the Jags up.
But Pop, I
I,
think his biggest problem is himself. Think about how many times you heard him go down with injuries that you've heard people miss 2, 3 weeks, and you see him out on the field the next week.
that could play a part, but my thing is if you're putting yourself back out there, you better be playing well. Like if you know you need to take that
You're
time,
not.
like like my thing is if you know you need to take that time to give your body some time to heal, but you're putting yourself back out there, okay, that means you have that to take your team to the right, like take your team to the finish line. And I just don't see that. Maybe this will be the year that we see him put it all together, but right now it's really just been up and down play from him. I think they surrounded him with great talents with his weapons. They've solidified that defense. I think there's still a couple of question marks Um, for me, specifically with their linebackers and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a pretty good team on paper. But the AFC South, that's not an easy division. You have the Titans that have done really well. You have the division champs and the Texans that we think that they can possibly reproduce a little bit of what they've done, what they did last year. And you have the Colts. And I think the Colts with a healthy AR, that's not a team to just, that's not going to be a cakewalk for the Jags. So we need to see what Trevor Lawrence can do, and can he be the leader that they need him to be to take them to the playoffs?
And look, the last thing I'll say about Trevor is I got to ask myself at this point, and I try to give him a pass for year one because we know year one was dysfunctional, right? But he's in 2 out of his 3 seasons, he's thrown for double digit interceptions. 17 year one, year two he improved. He had only had 8 interceptions. Year three he went back up to 14. So is this a trend at this point with you turning the ball over? Was the 8 interception season an outlier, or are you going to get up back to that this year and be that quarterback? Because I think the 2022 version of Trevor Lawrence, that guy is good enough to win. The 23 version, no.
I,
There's the difference is 100 yards, 4 less touchdowns, and 6 more interceptions from 22 to 23. So
Yeah,
that's
but
a clear regression.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but with all those bad numbers, if they beat if he's healthy down the stretch and they beat the Titans last week of the season, they're the ones that win the division and not the Texans. So it's not like, and I get it, like they lost Calvin Ridley, like they lost a good piece on their team, and the Texans added Texans
Stephon Diggs.
yeah, Stephon Diggs. So they added Stephon Diggs. So it's like, and then they also added a lot of other pieces in free agency. So that's why a lot of people got the Texans
yeah,
as
they
a
got Joe
win that
Mixon
division.
at running back for the Texans now.
Well, I mean, not just him.
Yeah.
I mean, they signed Danielle Hunter as well on defense, and they signed
Yeah,
a
so
pieces. But I mean, like the Jags did well in the draft, and they also signed pieces in free agency. So like I said, like I don't think the Texans going to run away with this division. I mean, I still think that the Jags, to me, I have the Jags finishing second. Is the way I see it. I mean, the Colts, I get it. Like a lot of people are high on AR, but AR still got to prove that he can stay healthy. Um, and I don't really have any questions about their offense other than outside of AR. And I mean defensively, like they got corners that got suspended that are coming back this year. So I got to see how the secondary improves. But yeah, I mean to me the only team in this division that doesn't really have a lot of questions is the Texans. I mean everybody else has questions. So
yeah, that's a fair point, because I think we still need to see a full season of Will Levis with the Titans, even though they did acquire Ridley and Snead for their defense. So I just don't think the AFC South is a division that the Jags are just going to run away with. I think it's going to be a very hard fight for them, and I think T Law needs to be that consistent quarterback to take them to at least a wild card spot, if not the division winners. I just have to see that production from him.
J Mick, you said if they beat Tennessee that they win the division, right?
the last week of the season, yeah, if they would have won that
Okay.
game, they win the division.
All right. Well, can you tell me how many games they won in the last 6 weeks of the season?
I think I mean, like they literally did what the Titans did the season before. This division to me is funny, right? Because the Titans were in the same situation the previous year with the Titans and the Jaguars. The Titans were up 3-4 games down the stretch. They only won one game. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars did the same exact thing, and they surrendered the division to the Texans as well. So yeah, I mean, like they had full control of the division, but another part about it is going down the stretch. Trevor was hurt. I mean, like Trevor, like in the Saints game on that Thursday night game, he injured I believe it was his foot or his knee, and then like another game he had a high ankle sprain, and then another game he injured his shoulder. He had a lot of injuries last year. So, and I'm not gonna make excuses though. Like he got out there, and he didn't perform as well as he should have. But I also put that on the coach, man. Like if you know that your guy has sustained like a high ankle sprain, you have no business playing the player. And people say it all the time. you have to save the player from himself, because if you give the player an option to play, the player gonna play. And I don't really have a problem with the player playing, because that's just how players are wired. They're gonna play. But I mean, Doug Peterson got to know, okay, my guy got a high ankle sprain. I got to at least get him out for a week. Yeah, I mean, get him out.
He wouldn't stop Carson from playing, bro. He let Carson get out there when Carson was out there hanging on by a limb. Oh, cool. You want to play? Cool. Go ahead.
But I think that's another reason why they actually traded for Mac Jones as well, because their backup was CJ Beathard. Like, I wasn't even hired on a CJ in college. So I think that's why they acquired Mac Jones. I mean, everybody knows Mac ain't the best quarterback in the world, but as a backup, he's a solid backup. So at least you have an option if, like, Trevor was to have a need situation or like a high ankle sprain again, like, you could bring Mac in there and Mac could pretty much run the offense. And I mean, Mac from Jacksonville, so I mean, he's kind of like it's kind of like a homecoming for the kids. So I mean, I think he has that option, but like Doug gotta. I get it. He didn't do it with the Eagles either, but sometimes you gotta save players from themselves. Players will always say, I'm good enough to go, but sometimes you gotta be like, nah, like, you got a high ankle sprain, you gotta at least miss a week.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl on a high ankle sprain. Smitty could tell you all about that. Am I lying?
That's interesting.
But look, Fair.
Nothing, man.
I want to respond to what Fair put in the comments. He said, I think y'all being hard on the going in the fourth year player. T-Law was hurt down the stretch. Cool. All that is good. But do you remember how everybody was talking about Trevor Lawrence? They was talking about this man is the best to come out since Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck.
He was a generational talent, Dre.
When you're a generational talent, you have different expectations. The expectations are different. And that's why I say I still hope that he gets there. I'm not rooting against Trevor Lawrence, but I haven't seen it up until this point. And because I haven't seen it up until this point, and we are going into year 4 now, I'll say the closest I've seen to a really good quarterback, and I think he did play well, was under Doug Peterson in his first year with Doug Peterson. If he can get back to that or get even close to that, I think the Jags have a higher ceiling. But if you go off for this last season,
the OC too, though, bro. Doug got fired from here, the Eagles, because of that OC. Because Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman told him he's not it. Don't put him out there. If you put him out there, you can leave with him. And he said, "Oh, I'm riding with my guys." That's how he ended up in Jacksonville. And then last year, y'all was playing patty cake with who was calling the plays.
But you that's let him call on the organization.
You had to take it back.
That's on the organization. We're basing this on the organization, right? So if all of these things that we're talking about, they're a bad organization. But we're telling you, everything y'all are saying right now is telling me that the Jaguars are a bad organization.
Yeah.
So if they're a bad organization, hold on. If they're a bad organization and they're not serious, why are you so high on them?
Yeah, but so here's the thing you gotta understand with the Jaguars. Like, the Jaguars have, I wouldn't call them a bad organization, because like, Jags have pockets of time when they're really good. Like, they had a stretch in the late 2010s when they made the AFC Championship game. They faced the Patriots and they lost, unfortunately. But like, they have certain periods of time where they're good, and I think the problem with the old ownership was, they would draft well, they get the players would mature, they would be really good, they would make runs in the playoffs, and then they wouldn't pay the guys. Now they have different ownership. The ownership doesn't seem like money is an issue with Shad Khan. Shad Khan seemed like he's willing to pay whatever to be good, and that's what he's been doing. So I wouldn't say call the ownership bad, but like, I think Smitty right though. Like, I heard this from a lot of Jaguar fans on Twitter. It's like they were not happy with what's his name? Like, what's his name? Preston, whatever his name is, the OC guy. Yeah. So like, they were not happy with him calling the plays. They did not want him calling the plays, and I just think the front office got to tap Doug on the shoulder, be like, bro, like you try to have Preston calling the plays, and you see what happened. Preston Taylor calling the plays, you see what happened down the stretch. They got to talk to Doug in the offseason, like, bro, you tried it with Preston Taylor, it didn't work. We need you to call the plays.
But they played patty cake last year. So it was like he started the season, Doug was calling the plays. Then you switch to Press Taylor. He's not doing good, so you take back over. Like, that's not good for the team. Like, that keeps you in limbo. He need to stand on his 10. Hey, look, Press, you're not cutting it. I need to bring somebody in here that can do the job. And if it's gonna be me, then you just take the back seat and sit here and I do what I need you to do.
And
But
quick,
you need to bring somebody in that can execute what Trevor Lawrence does well, and Press Taylor ain't it.
quick
Was
question:
my bad.
when we rank the coaching staffs, from everything I'm hearing now, we couldn't have ranked the Jags coaching staff no higher than 4, right?
Yeah, I don't
Let me
think we
see. I'll tell
did.
you. No,
I
they
think
was fifth.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that they weren't higher up because I just wanted to make sure
They're last. Actually, their coaching staff was actually last.
they were last.
They're sixth. Yeah, they're sixth on the list.
Okay,
It's Jags, Colts, Jags, Colts, Seahawks, Falcons, Bucks, Steelers. Steelers is one.
I don't know how the hell did we put the Falcons ahead of the Falcons have Raheem Morris. I mean, Raheem ain't exactly got the greatest record coaching, you know. I mean, because he did coach Tampa Bay when he was the interim, and that was a dumpster fire. So that's interesting that we ranked them second.
No, we got them third, not second, third.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
still
didn't.
not that.
Second is Buccaneers.
Because at least you can say about Doug. I mean, Doug won the championship. I mean, I know people hold on to that, but it's a fact. So, but I mean, the Preston Taylor thing is a definite problem, though.
But here's my question: was Preston Taylor with them when they beat the Chargers in the playoffs?
I mean, he's been there the whole time.
Yeah, he came with Doug. He left here with Doug. He went there with Doug.
Oh, okay. So
but he wasn't the OC. He didn't get the OC the first year. He wasn't able to call plays that first year. It was all Doug the first year.
So it was all Doug. So what? Now I'm confused on why you go away from something that works.
Why not just stay with what you already doing? Like, why switch it up? You went to the playoffs calling the plays. Like, keep calling the plays.
Hold on. Do they win a playoff game though if the Chargers have competent coaching?
That's a fair point.
I ain't saying win. I ain't care about the win. You got to the playoffs calling the plays.
Yeah, but the Chargers also got to the playoffs with that same coach. So I mean, I don't know.
They got
but we know that the Brandon Staley is a terrible coach, and that's why he doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah,
everybody knows that.
Yeah, but
but as a head coach, I'm talking about as a head coach. He's over there with the 49ers in some kind of role over there, but he's not a head coach.
Saying that though, he was the coach of the team for the season. Like, so he still coached that team to get to the playoff. They were a wild card team. So, I mean, I get it. Like, I don't view him as a good head coach either, but he did get them there as a head coach. So,
but you could say the same thing about the OC then with the Jaguars. Well, I mean, he coached them within one win of winning the division and having a home playoff game. Like, it goes both ways.
Yeah, but I mean, but you're comparing, like, so I get it. Like, you're saying that about an OC, but like Staley's the head coach and he's a DC. And so I'm just comparing Staley to Doug Peterson. Obviously, Doug is a better coach than Staley. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that. So, but
I mean, the distance between the Jags and Seahawks is the distance between you and the Commanders, bro, on the list.
I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, it's not like it's like worlds apart or anything.
I think the Seahawks should be. We'll revisit. Look, this isn't our final rankings. We'll get back to this. Y'all gonna hear.
Too far now.
Y'all gonna be hearing a lot about the Seahawks this year. Keep tuning in. There's gonna be a lot of Seahawks talk.
I hope for your sake, because if they're not good, if Gino is trash, I mean, me and Smitty gonna have a field day with you.
Hey, then I'm wrong.
All right, so we're gonna get into the next team. We got the 18. We got the Colts coming in at 18. What? I mean, they played well with Gardner Minshew with the backup last year. I can't lie. Their defense was well improved. Their offense is, I think, going to be rejuvenated. I think they got some good pieces over there on the offensive end. Like, They got probably the best running game in this division. Even with Joe Mixon being added to the Texans, I still think Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in this division. I think they have arguably the second best wide receiver room in this division.
They got Pittman, Adane,
And Josh Downs. The second or third.
and
It's one of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got him as
Yeah.
well. Nah, I can't even
Second
say
or
that.
third.
In
It's
the
like
di-
argument.
in-
'cause
in the
remember,
Texas have the best. Texas
in the
have the
division,
best.
Texans
The
first,
Texans got
and
the
then
best.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
the
you can make
Titans
an
got the
argument.
second best.
Yeah,
So
because
then-
don't they have Ridley, D Hop, and Burks?
but
And they
You
just
don't think-
Burks is
Boyd,
the
too.
outlier though. Burks is the
All right,
outlier
so-
for me though.
Then
He
get
don't.
Tyler Boyd.
I mean,
the
yeah, but I mean,
Titans.
you can replace Burks with Tyler Boyd. That's the second best
Boyd,
unit in
I
that
mean,
division.
Yeah,
I think
Titans.
you can
Titans
argue. I
is
can argue the Colts for two though. I like the Colts. I
nah,
like
not
Ridley.
over the Titans.
I mean, who on the Colts is better than Ridley and D Hop?
Nobody.
D-Hop
Nobody.
old. I mean, what did D-Hop?
Nope.
D-Hop had how? I mean, I don't know. It felt
D-Hop,
like
Do-
D-Hop.
do they really
it was
have a
Calvin
better
Ridley for
receiver?
me. He's a question mark.
Look,
To me,
do
Calvin
they
Ridley
really
a
have a
question
better?
mark. He disappeared a lot of those Jags games last year, bro. A lot.
But he's not going to be. He's not wide receiver one over there.
Yeah, I mean D Hop.
He's going to be 2.
So I mean, you
He
got
wasn't wide receiver one for the Jags. It was Christian Kirk.
I think they were expecting him to be it though. It might not have
Bro, they
ended
were
up
already-
being that way, but I think it was designed. Like going into the season, I think it was designed for Calvin Ridley to be wide receiver one. I don't think it worked out that way.
I mean,
I
he
could
was
be wrong on that though.
So, I mean, I don't view him as an X, but that's what he was playing. So, but now we go over to the Titans. He don't got to be the X. D Hop is the X.
Yeah, I could say you can make an argument for the Colts to have the third best, but I can't
And-
say like one of the top or even
And I
second.
think the
argue
argument for the
with you, I
third
ain't
best
gonna lie.
is it's obviously the Jags. Colts.
Traylon Burks
You could
or
go to
Tyler
fourth.
Boyd don't move
The
needle
Colts
like that.
might have the worst wide receiver unit in the division.
Yeah, because
How?
well, no,
How?
here's the thing, because the Jags.
Yeah, what
they
the
have-
Jags really got at wide
they
receiver
have
other
Christian
than
Kirk, they got Dave Davis, they just got Brian
Mr.
Thomas
I
Jr.
drop balls, Gabe? The same one that just came from
They
Buffalo
got
that led the league in
Evan
drops?
Ingram,
But I mean, Gabe
yeah,
Davis
I
is still
get
a
what
good
you're
wide
saying.
receiver, though.
Yeah,
He's decent.
like,
I ain't
you
gonna
can't
say
negate that.
Now,
he better
especially if you add the tight end to it, then yes, then for sure.
Yeah,
Then the
with Evan
Colts are
Ingram,
four.
You're not
yeah.
adding Colts. I said
Brian
receiver
Thomas,
role.
okay,
I said
Brian
tight end
Thomas,
role.
A.D. Mitchell.
That's
Who
pretty
you
much
got?
to me. I mean,
I got
Brian
Brian
Thomas is
Thomas.
better to me.
I got
But-
Brian Thomas.
Yes, but they're both rookies, so I'm not
Yeah.
even like it's just hard to use them because we don't
All
know
right.
what he's going to be in the league.
All right, but where did everybody here have Brian Thomas ranked, and where did everybody have A.D. Mitchell ranked?
Brian Thomas was definitely ranked higher. I mean,
Exactly.
I didn't see him. I
Yeah,
didn't see him on
I
any
think he was
boards
the
where
fourth
AD
best
was-
wide receiver on the board draft board. in my
That's where I had him too. I had A.D. Mitchell at 5 or 6.
And then if
Yeah.
I gotta, compare Kirk and Gabe Davis to Pittman and I don't even use Pierce. I'll use Josh Downs because Josh Downs is pretty good too. I mean, when
He
I
had
compare those,
almost 800 last year.
who Pierce or Josh Downs?
Downs had almost 800 last
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I mean, like that's why I'm not gonna compare Pierce. I mean, Pierce is pretty much a deep threat, and I just don't know if he's gonna be used right. But like Josh Downs to me is not like him and Gabe Davis. Like that shit is comparable. Like, it's kind of hard to say. But if I have to say, who would I rather have? Would I rather have Kirk or would I have Pittman? Give me Kirk. Like I'd rather have Christian Kirk. That's just me.
All right, so the Colts are 4th in the division.
But I think it's close though. Like it's not like we said. Like it's really close though between the Colts and the Jaguars though. But yeah, I'd have the Colts last.
Bro, listen. Christian Kirk best season is my boy down seasons. So I'm just saying, Michael Pittman Jr. had 1152, and in Christian Kirk best season he had 1108. I'm taking Michael Pittman again.
I'm not taking Michael Pittman over Kirk because
I'm taking Michael Pittman over Kirk.
No, I'm not doing that because I'm not because the reason I'm not is because Michael Pittman is pretty much like a change mover wide receiver. Like he's not a deep threat, not at all. Like he don't have the speed to be a deep threat. Kirk can do that.
So, all right, Gabe Davis outproduced Josh Downs last season, right? The
Okay.
yardage is similar. Gabe Davis had 30 less yards, but he had
Oh yeah,
23 less receptions and had 5 more touchdowns. So less receptions, damn near the same yardage, and 5 more touchdowns. That you got to give the Gabe Davis the edge.
Gardner Minshew passing you the ball. How many touchdowns did Gardner Minshew have last year compared to what Josh
Smitty,
Allen had?
he caught the ball 23 more times.
Because Gardner Minshew was checked down machine last year.
I mean, Gardner Minshew. I mean, that's not true either, though. Like Gardner Minshew was throwing the ball down the field. He's not necessarily accurate
Yes.
the field, but he was throwing it down
But
the
not
field.
like that, though. Not like that. He had some
I mean,
plays,
the
but
game
he wasn't
was-
like he wasn't doing what
Josh
Allen
Downs.
was.
Josh Downs.
He had 15 touchdowns.
All right, so
15 touchdowns.
Josh Downs had it was 11.3 yards per reception. So Gabe Davis had 5.3 yards more per reception than Josh Downs last season. But like I said, he had 23 less catches, had damn near the same yardage and more touchdowns. You at that point, going off of production, you have to give the edge to the guy that was more productive with less opportunities.
You had a quarterback that threw for almost 1,200 more yards than the quarterback, and he doubled his touchdowns.
He had less opportunities. He had less targets and less receptions and had damn near the same amount of yardage and more touchdowns.
And you're talking about Gabe Davis, who was battling with targets with a Stephon Diggs, Kincaid, Shakir, and Dawson Knox. Like he might not even been the second guy on that bill. So he's like the third guy, and he still was that productive.
I gotta look at this because I think he's. You say he third in the.
He had 81. He had 81 targets.
Yeah, I mean he had a bunch, but I mean I don't. Let me take a look at this.
I'm going to look too.
Yeah, so like Kincaid had 10 more targets than him. Kincaid had 91 targets. He had 81. And then James Cook had 4. Shakir had 44. Yeah, like he had the third most targets on the team. You got to understand, like as the season got deeper into the season, Kincaid was like, he was kind of the de facto one anyways. I mean, he didn't get.
Y'all telling me quarterback play doesn't affect how good a wide receiver is?
I mean, we just got done.
Playing with Gardner Minshew is just like playing with Josh Allen.
We just got done talking about Geno Smith, and we didn't take the injuries or first year in the system into account why his play was worse than it was the year prior.
Yes, he did. J-Mac said it twice.
No, he said he played bad because he's not there anymore, not because it's year one of a system. When it's known that most players, no, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing.
Saying you in a new system.
That's not the same thing. It's saying you were only good because that guy was there, and not that maybe you struggled a little bit in year one because it's year one of a system. And most quarterbacks, it takes them 2 years or until the second year in the system to really be good in that system and feel comfortable in that system.
And I just don't think you can use the bad quarterback argument. There's plenty of wide receivers in this league that are really good that got bad quarterbacks, and they still put up the production.
I mean, they wide receiver one. I mean, what's the name put up good stats though? Michael Pittman put up decent stats, but when you wide receiver 2/3, I mean, with Gardner Minshew, who was pretty much targeting Michael Pittman. I think Michael Pittman had over 120 targets, if I'm not mistaken.
He had 156 targets. Yeah, but Josh Downs was number 2 on the team with 98. He almost had 100 receptions. 100 targets.
But I mean, that goes to my point. The reason why Michael Pittman gets so many targets is he's not a deep threat, bro. Like he's like he's a chain mover receiver. So that's why he's getting all them targets, because he's not going down the field. And the way that the Colts are I won't say run first. I mean, they run a lot. But like that's part of the reason why Michael Pittman works so well in that offense is because he's the chain mover guy.
Yeah, but was Christian Kirk was hurt last year, though, right? Because last year's season wasn't that productive.
I didn't even count last year.
Yeah.
I moved on.
I moved to the next year. 2 or 3 games last year. But I'm just saying, from production wise and what Kirk can do, I would take Christian Kirk over Pittman. That's just my preference because Because I mean, Christian Kirk can do more things than Michael Pittman can do.
I mean, if you want to compare what Pittman had, I'm gonna use Pittman. What year you want to use from Pittman, Smitty? You want to use last year, the year before? You tell me what year to use from Pittman. I'm gonna use Christian Kirk's last healthy season, where he played the full season.
I just said I'm taking him. We ain't got to keep arguing it. What you gonna argue the 4 touchdowns? I mean, or whatever he had.
No. I'm looking at the targets. I'm looking at the fact that the year prior, Christian Kirk had 23 less targets. Again, he had less receptions. I think. Hold on, let me make sure that's true. He had less receptions by 25. He had 25 less receptions and had
117 yards less.
117 yards less.
But they playing different roles too. But I said I'll take Michael Pittman.
And he had more touchdowns. He doubled them in touchdown production that year. So,
I mean, Michael Pittman has.
The quarterback only had 15 again. I mean, we still going back to Gardner Minshew had 15 touchdowns.
Yeah, but part of the reason why Gardner Minshew has 15 touchdowns is because Jonathan Taylor on the team. A lot of times when they get down into that red zone, they running the ball. Like that's just is what it is. I mean, like I said, like you have your preference in Pittman, and I got my preference in Kirk. I'm just that's just it. You know, I mean, it is what it is. I guess.
I like Pittman over Kirk. That's just me. Now, when they come down to like Downs and Gabe, I mean, we gonna see because I think Downs with I don't know. Was that Downs rookie year too? On top of that,
I mean, Downs only played 1 year.
For sure.
That's what I'm saying. You comparing Gabe in year what to his rookie season?
That's the only thing you can compare.
What years Gabe in?
You can only compare that though, and he had more opportunities
to his rookie season, and let's see how close it is.
He had more opportunities. Like he had more opportunities, had more receptions, and didn't outproduce him.
Let's compare Gabe in a comparable year to the rookie season, right?
If I'm not mistaken, Gabe Davis a second round pick? Was he slotted to?
I thought he was later than that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Gabe was a 4th-round pick.
He was a what?
Gabe was a 4th-round pick.
What was Josh?
Josh was in
second, and I think it was an early second, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right about that.
I mean, the year before, you can go back a year on Gabe Davis where they had comparable targets and it's closer. I mean, way more closer. I mean, Gabe is up still on touchdowns and receptions, but I mean,
and yardage then at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think right now in their careers, Gabe Davis is a better wide receiver than Josh Downs right now.
I mean, he's in year 5. He should be.
Nah, that's not necessarily true. I mean, there's wide receivers that's been 5 years in the league that are not better than Josh Downs.
But we also can't. If we're talking about just where the wide receiver rooms rank right now, we can't knock one room for being more experienced than the other. So if they have more experience, then that's the better room at this point. It's not saying Josh Downs can't eventually be better than Gabe Davis, but at this point, going into the season, the Jaguars have the 3rd best room in that division, and they have the 4th best in the division.
I can also say that like if you want to do the rookie year thing, Gabe Davis only had 62 targets in his rookie year for 599. Josh Downs had 98 targets for 771. I mean, Gabe had 35 receptions for 599, and Josh had 68 receptions for 770. He had almost double the receptions and only had like 150 more yards. Not 150, but like 170. Like to have almost double the receptions and only have another 170 yards. That's kind of.
He had double the targets, not double the receptions, right?
Gabe had 35 receptions. Josh Downs had 68 receptions.
So damn near double, yeah.
Almost double the receptions. And Gabe only had 62 targets in his rookie campaign, and Josh Downs had 98. So he had double the receptions and he had 30 more targets, but he only put up 170 more yards.
And we just got done talking about Trevor Lawrence's quarterback play also not being great last season too. So
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I'm just saying the quarterback. I mean, the wide receiver rooms right now. I would have to agree. I probably would take. I probably would take Jacksonville over the Colts. I think it's close though. I don't think it's like far or anything like that. I think it's pretty close though.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not
It's not
a
like worlds
big
apart.
gap or anything like that. But I mean, it's just.
It's definitely a gap though. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll take the Colts preferably over the Jags, but that's just me. I think I have Brian Thomas. I think I had a Donnie Mitchell a little higher than y'all did too. So that's just me personally.
What you had him as wide receiver 4?
Yeah.
You had a wide receiver 4 coming into this draft?
Yes.
I mean, he played on. Like I watched that boy Georgia for a whole year, and I just can't put him at wide receiver. I don't think I have him at wide receiver 5. For me, he was like 6 or 7.
That's what I said. For me, he was 5 or 6. Like it was always an argument if he was going to be 5 or 6 for me.
For me, I think I had him around 6 or 7 coming into the draft.
I rank a little different than y'all do because I give you the potential. I give you all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going into a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got like, to me, he only had what 55 receptions last year, 845. I mean, he was battling with Mr. Xavier Worthy, who was going crazy. I mean, he played pretty good to be wide receiver 2 on that team last year. I think he got a lot of upside, pretty fast. He could do a lot of the things you want to do in this time. And then I feel like I felt like it was close between him and Brian. Like, to me personally, like Brian Thomas to me is a big body, but I think they can do a lot of, and they like the same height if I'm not mistaken. Xavier, what's it called? Is 6'2". How tall is Brian Thomas?
Brian Thomas is 6'2", but like Brian Thomas has more weight on him.
Yeah, he's bigger. I just said that. I said he's bigger. I said, but they like the same height.
Brian Thomas, the only thing for me, if you're talking about projection, and that is one thing that I do take into account when I'm thinking about where I got these guys ranked. Brian Thomas has barely played football for like 4 years, and he was already that good. So I'm projecting him to get even better. And A.D. Mitchell is a guy that's been playing football for a very long time.
What you mean?
I just can't.
You saying Brian Thomas only played 4 years of his life at football?
Yeah, he hasn't been playing football that long. Yeah,
it's either 4 or 5. Like he started real late in the process.
Did he start playing high school football his sophomore or junior year or something?
I think it was junior year. So it's 5 years. He's played 5 years of football.
Yeah, he hasn't really played that long. And I mean, for me, like AD, he played at Georgia. He was wide receiver 1 at Georgia. I mean, I get it. I mean, you know, we had Bowers and we had a Ladd, and we had a bunch of guys like the year that we won the national championship. But he was, I mean, Ladd was really good, but
it didn't seem like wide receiver 1 at Donnie Mitchell did not seem like wide receiver 1 on that team.
I mean, and Donnie was playing the X. That's what he was playing. I mean,
he was wide receiver
being
1.
Target and being the first guy on the read is different now.
He was wide receiver 1 though. I mean, of course he wasn't the first read because I think Brock Bowers was probably like. I mean, he was the go-to guy for that offense.
But if you're talking about wide receivers, who's the first read when it comes to the wide receivers? It was definitely AD.
It was 80.
It was definitely him.
But he had 29 receptions as wide receiver 1, and then year 2 he had 9 receptions.
Yeah, but had injury problems. He had injury problems.
38 receptions in 2 years at Georgia.
Yeah, injury problems.
The year that we won the second year we won the national championship, like he won it that year, and then he transferred to Texas the next year. That year he was the X. He was the first read. Like he was the first read. I mean, his production wasn't that great, but he
only got
played
hurt.
6 games. He had 9 receptions for 134, and the year before that he played 15 games. He had 29 receptions for 426.
Yeah, but
when was he wide receiver 1? I said playing X is different than being 1.
Freshman year, I don't know too many wide receivers outside of a guy like Julio Jones that's coming in freshman year and being wide receiver 1. So to ask about that year, I don't know what to tell you.
That year because he was a freshman. I'm looking at his last year at Georgia. His last year.
Yes, he played 6 games. He had 9 receptions for 134.
Yeah, I mean he was. So here's the thing: he missed 6 games because he was hurt. But even in the games that he played, he was still hurting them games that he was playing. Like up until he couldn't play anymore. So he was never really that healthy that season. To be honest with you. So I mean, to me, he was definitely the first read at wide receiver on that team. I mean, Ladd was great that year for us. He was great every year that he was there. But
And I mean, your offense, correct me if I'm wrong, but your offense ran through your running game and Brock Bowers.
yeah, that's correct. I mean, like those are the first. It's a heavy run first, and then like off of that, they're throwing the ball to Brock. I mean, Brock in his sophomore year was widely considered the best tight end in the country. Like, and that was in his sophomore year. People were saying he could have come out in his sophomore year and he would have been a first round pick. So, I mean, that's who was the first person getting the ball was Brock Bowers. But if we're talking about wide receivers and reads and all that, like in my opinion, like Mitchell was the first read, and that's not even the reason why he didn't even transfer. It wasn't a football reason why he transferred. It was like a different reason.
It was because he wanted to be close to his daughter.
Yeah, so that's if not for him having a kid, I mean, he would have probably stayed at Georgia.
I'll say this: when the news came out that AD Mitchell went to Texas, anybody I talked to, it didn't matter who they were a fan of, was like, "Damn, that's a great pickup for Texas if he could be healthy this upcoming year." That was the caveat everybody put on it because health was a concern for him.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I was so high on BT was just what you said earlier. He hasn't played that much football. I don't think we've seen the best of Brian Thomas yet. That's kind of scary, to be honest. And he's been really good, and I don't think we've seen the best of him.
They last year, 2023, it's comparable as hell, man. That's why I looked at it a little. I don't know. They comparable. Like he had 68 receptions for 1177. Brian Thomas had 68 receptions for 1177. Adonai Mitchell had 55 receptions for 845. Adonai Mitchell had 11 touchdowns. Brian Thomas had 17. Now, if you're going into like yards per average ran and stuff like that, then it gets sketchy. Because like you got Adonai Mitchell who's running 15 yards compared to Brian Thomas who was running damn near 18 yards per route.
Like I said, my main thing when it comes to those two players was just I was projecting Brian Thomas to be a better NFL player just based off of the fact that he hasn't been playing football long. Because if you're telling me you've been playing football for 5 years and you're that good already, and another guy's been playing since middle school or since pee-wee football, and you're already on that level, like coming out, I'm just projecting you to have a higher ceiling and be the better player in the league. Now that could also come back to backfire though, because he is less experienced. Maybe he did benefit from playing with a guy like Malik Neighbors. That definitely helped him. So we have to see what happens this upcoming or when he plays in the NFL. But just off of projection, I was looking at Brian Thomas, and for me, he was the clear wide receiver 4. And I even saw some analysts have him in the top 3. I never agreed with that, but for me, he was always clear 4.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the draft, going into the draft, it was always, okay, who's going to come after the top 4? Who's going to be the 5? Who's going to be the 6 wide receiver? Who's going to be the 7th? But I think, in my opinion, if you look at all the mocks, if you look at all the projections going into the draft, Brian Thomas was 4.
And also the other thing about like BT that I love is just like his size and his speed. Like the kid is like 6'2", 210, and he running a 40 and like 4.31 like that. It was either 4.31 or 4.39. I think it might have been 4.39. But like a lot of dudes can't do that. And I mean the 40-yard, that's not a good measurement of how good a wide receiver you're going to be, but it goes to the point of his size and his speed. For his size at that weight.
Donnie Mitchell wasn't slow.
I didn't say he wasn't slow, but he's not like like weight wise, he's not carrying as much weight as Brian Thomas. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, how big you say Brian Thomas is?
I think Brian Thomas, I thought he was like 210, 220, something like that.
They got Adonai Mitchell 6'4", 200.
Yeah, but Adonai's not 6'4". Like he measured the combine at 6'2", though.
Yeah, he measured at 6'2", 3/4", 196.
Yeah, so he's 196 pounds versus Brian Thomas is over 200, and they're running the same speed. Like That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, like you like AD and you know, I mean, like we like BT. So I mean, during the season, I mean, we just gonna see
Yeah, that's
because I mean,
because
they
they
both in
both
good
haven't
situations.
played. Yeah,
I mean, he
they
Yeah,
only
both haven't.
he 9 pounds bigger than bro.
yeah, but
Y'all just made it seem like he was
yeah, but it's not
50
just
pounds bigger.
it's not just looking at the sheet and see, it's not just the pounds, but it's like, you know, I mean, like when you see like their competition as a person at the combine, like Brian Thompson is just he's just a
He's
heavier kid.
aggressive and Adoni is finesse. It's a little different. It's a
No,
different play.
I wouldn't even say Adoni's a finesse. I don't consider Adoni to be a finesse wide receiver though. I wouldn't say that at all. Like, I mean, I just wouldn't want to put that on Adoni. Like, I think he's more than just a finesse wide receiver. So
When I say finesse, I'm just saying how he approached the game is a little bit more like I'm trying to get it and go. And Brian Thomas don't mind getting physical. I mean, they
yeah, but I
just
think
play a different. One plays aggressive and one doesn't play as aggressive as the other.
I think
But
Adoni has the capability to do what you know the way that BT plays the game. I think Adoni got the same ability to do the same thing.
Yeah, he
I
could, but
agree,
he just doesn't at the moment play like that.
I mean, he was playing like
but
that
I
at
think
Georgia though.
I think Adani and BTJ are both in great situations for them to produce for their teams.
Oh yeah,
And I think this upcoming season we can see who will have the better production. But I think they'll both be solid wide receivers. And
and I just think they go like both of the teams that they're going into, they're not wide receiver ones. Like with the
yeah,
Colts, Pittman's a wide receiver one in Indy, and then in Jacksonville it's Christian Kirk. So the teams ain't dependent on them to carry all the weight in their rookie year, which is great, and they both got good quarterbacks. So I mean, yeah, like it goes back to Pop's point, like they're in two really good situations. So
and I think the thing with the Colts is we need to see what Anthony Richardson looks like coming off the injury that we had. We only have like a 4-game sample size of him last year, and he showed really good flashes, but he was hurt even early on through the season. So we need to see what his health is. We need to see how he looks coming off said injury. And I think that's the biggest question mark for me with the Colts is AR in the production. I also do have some concerns about their linebacking core. I don't think it's that great. I think their D line is pretty good, and I think their secondary can play a lot better. I still have questions about their linebacking room. I think they have a solid offensive line, but my biggest question is the health of AR, and will he be able to sustain a full season?
I don't know. But they got a good backup though. So I mean, even if I guess they got a better backup than I think they had last year. Maybe
Yeah, Joe Flacco, I
they
think, is
got.
a solid sign-in for them.
You said the linebackers. Let me see that. Didn't
I mean,
Zaire have a good season last year? Zaire Franklin had a pretty good season last year,
I
right?
was gonna say, like, I think their linebacker core is actually pretty good. I mean, I ain't calling it the best in the league or nothing. Like, I ain't going that far with it.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's
to
pretty
me,
good.
it's Zaire Franklin is a pretty good linebacker, but I don't know. I just have question marks for the room in general, not just one specific player.
No, I'm looking through. I mean, EJ Speed. I mean, he was decent. What year he went into? He a little older. Outside of the starters, though, it's
Yeah, but you said about a lot of teams. Like, I mean, there
Yeah,
are very few teams that have like linebacker depth that you just have great linebackers sitting on the bench, though.
No, I ain't saying great. I don't know them. I'm like, who is this? Like, who is any of these dudes? I don't know anybody outside of the first two.
I mean, EJ Speed's not. I mean, like for what they asked EJ to do, I think he's just fine for what they asked him to do. So
yeah, he
I
fits
think
their
that defensive
system.
line is good though. The Forrest Buckner, Raekwon Davis.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid D line.
All right, for the last one of the day, man. Number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. She don't like this because she didn't want them nowhere else.
I think we should let Pop go first.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, yeah, no, I got outvoted with the Falcons. I thought they should have been a little bit lower, but they do have some positives, I think, for the team that will put them at this position. They added Kirk Cousins, which was a big free agent acquisition for them for the quarterback position. I think he will give them the best quarterback play that they've had since Matt Ryan's departure from the team. They signed Darnell Mooney, and I believe they got Rondell Moore in a trade with the Cardinals, and I think that will help boost their wide receiver room. They'll have a solid 2 and 3 um, behind Drake London. Raheem Morris, I think I don't know what he'll be as a head coach. I don't know. We've seen him in previous seasons with other teams. He's kind of okay, but I don't know. That's a question mark for me. I think they have a really good run game with Bijan. I think they're solid. They have a solid line. I have questions about their defense. I need to see what that looks like. I don't know how Rook is gonna produce for them. uh, they didn't really address their secondary in the draft or through free agency, so I need to see what that looks like. But I think they have a solid team, and but I think the biggest thing for them was quarterback play last year because there was a couple of games they could have won if they had better play from that position. Because they were in the mix with a few games, and they just couldn't win. Desmond Ritter had critical fumbles at key times when they were in position to score. So I think the Falcons are a team that is on the rise. We just have to see. Like for me, I just have to see what that defense looks like, um, and also how Kirk comes back after the injury that he had last season with the Vikings.
Yeah, for me, I mean, you got Bijan and Algier. So I like the running back room. Wide receiver room, I think, could still be better. I like Rondell Moore. I like Mooney. I like Drake London. But I think they're still in the future going to have to look for some upgrades for Mooney and Moore. I don't think either of those guys is really, in my opinion, like a true number two wide receiver. I think they're both kind of like wide receiver three,
I don't know why they got
my
rid of
fault,
Mike
wide
Hollins. They
receiver
should have kept
four.
him at wide receiver too.
Yeah, but I think
That
he's a free agent though. I think he signed with the Bills, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But that's
They probably
probably
didn't even
my
try to sign him back because sometimes the Falcons don't make serious decisions.
that's probably one thing that I have a problem with. I think the offense line is a good unit. Um, Obviously the quarterback position they upgraded. I feel like it doesn't really matter who starts, they upgraded. If it's Michael Penix, it's an upgrade. If it's Kirk Cousins, it's an upgrade. And I think you're going to see a better Kyle Pitts because of it. So on the offensive side of the ball, I think they'll be good. And on defense, my biggest question about them is just those edge rushers. And I know they brought in Braylon Trice through the draft, who's a guy I like, but we're gonna have to see it. Um, yeah, man, I don't. I mean, I won't say like I don't think they'll have a bottom 10
Well, they
defense or
got Rook
anything.
listed as a DN.
Well, I mean, we'll see what they end up doing going into the season. Obviously they liked him because they traded up to go get him. So they obviously have some
I'm just
kind of
looking at
role
their
for
depth
him.
chart
But
right now, and they got him as him backing up on the right side, Braylon Trice on the left.
Yeah, but I think Rook. The thing about him at Clemson was like he's got the ability to play all over that line. So I
he's
mean,
raw too.
yeah,
He's another one of those raw guys that hasn't played a lot.
yeah. So I mean that's why they got him listed as DN. I mean, you could play him at D tackle, DN. I mean, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, man. I'm high on the Falcons this year. I think it comes down to them and the Buccaneers in that division to see who actually wins the division.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean they should win the division. But then again, I said about the Saints last year when they got Derek Carr. I was like, oh, they got the best quarterback in the division, and they didn't win. So it's kind of twofold. I mean, yeah, I mean, like their draft. Like I like Michael Penix in the like in the pre-draft process. I just didn't like. I just thought it was funny because you just signed a guy who's making 90 to 100 million over the first 2 years of the deal, and you sign Penix, so Penix ain't gonna play as long as Kirk healthy. He ain't gonna play for the first 2 years. I think that's the only reason why I had an issue with the pick. The Roku pick. The problem I had a problem with it was because Jerzon Newton was sitting there, and to me, Jerzon Newton is a better player.
Well, when you ask the Atlanta Falcons fans to explain it, they say Rook fits what they need more than what Newton does.
It's not just that; it's also the fact that I don't know. Maybe they just weren't happy with his medicals. He had surgery on the one foot. Had to end up getting surgery on the other foot, the same injury on the other foot. He had to get surgery for that. He just got that surgery done like 2 days ago. So maybe they just weren't happy with the medicals, and maybe it's also a case of projection with Rook, like we were just talking about with Brian Thomas. We're talking about a guy that's real raw. He hasn't been playing football for a long time either. And maybe they just think that he has the higher ceiling long term.
But I also feel like they could have drafted Sweat as well, though, because Sweat went what 2 picks after Newton. And then I get it that like Sweat is pretty much like, I mean, he's gonna be playing on the inside. He's pretty much a one tech. That's what he's gonna be doing. He's not really good in, like pass rushing or whatever. He's not good at that. But I mean, the Falcons had they lost one of their D tackles because he's Calais Campbell. So he was really good for them last year, and they lost him. So I thought they could.
He's just sitting out there right now. I mean, you think they're gonna try to bring him back? They might try to bring him back though.
I haven't heard nothing on the.
He said basically he came out like a week ago. Said he just weighing his options and he taking his time.
It makes sense. I don't know.
Training camp. That's probably what it is.
That
100%.
makes a lot of sense.
The older cats don't want to go through no training camp.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. When it comes to Sweat, though, my thing about Sweat is he's a great player, but I don't know if he's going to be able to be a 3-down player in the league. I also think he has some footwork issues that he has to work on. And I mean, I don't want to say he has off the field issues, but the thing that came out about him shortly before the draft didn't help how teams viewed him. So I think all of those things maybe just played a factor into it. And the Falcons, they were happy with the guy that they ended up getting. And obviously, it was something they saw about the guy because you don't trade up to go get him over those other 2 guys if you like all 3.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. I mean, hopefully it works out. Like I was saying that if they would have just stayed in their position, I think he might have been there. Like in the 40s, where I think they were at 45 or 46 or something like that. I'm almost certain he would have been there for them, but who knows?
Maybe the Commanders would have taken him though, because he can play every position on the line, and the Commanders, the interior line is good, but look at those edges.
Yeah, I think they traded with Arizona
to get in front of the Commanders.
They did.
So, yeah, but see, I think the Commanders were going to take Newton regardless. I don't think they were going to take Root.
I don't know. I'm saying maybe they thought that, like maybe that was a thought process. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Commanders also, I don't think they would have doubled up, but they had 2 picks before the Falcons were going to be on the clock, right? They had 36 and 40.
Yeah, but they traded 40 with the Eagles, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think that happened after that. I think the Falcons moved up first, and then the Eagles traded with Washington for 40.
No.
I mean, but it's possible that the
What pick did he go?
What, Ruke? Ruke went like 34, 35.
Oh, yeah, that happened first.
Yeah, because, I mean, Howie made that trade because Cooper was still there, and he wanted to go up and get Cooper. So
it was a good thing he did.
Nah, that was look, to be honest, that was the only team that was willing to trade with us in that range.
Yeah, but if y'all don't trade with them, it's very possible the Saints could have took Cooper DeJean instead of Kool-Aid, though.
That started the run on the corners.
Yeah, they were like 4 straight corners. Once y'all trade up to take Cooper, Kool-Aid was taken, Kamari Lassiter was taken and Max Melton was taken. But I'm convinced that the Cardinals was taking Melton. Like no matter where they was at, they was gonna take him.
That
What do you think? He
damn
was a
sure
lock
could
pick?
be.
He was a lock pick, you think?
Say what?
You think he was a lock for the Cardinals?
I just think the Cardinals. I mean, like a lot of people like Max Melton. I mean, going through this process, man, a lot of people and teams.
I think if we didn't get Quinion, he was on our radar.
Yeah, I think we were looking at him too, but obviously he didn't fall far enough for us to snatch him up. But I mean, he's a Rutgers kid. All right, they brought him in for a 30 visit. I think he was there again when they had the local visits and stuff like that. So they were high on Melton. He wasn't there for us, so we ended up taking Newman safety and then took Phillips in the third. But I mean, you can't get everybody you like.
I mean, wish we could.
Yeah.
Well, that's the. Let me get this. Oh, that's 22 through 17, man. Seemed like but you know what's funny? Everybody that had an argument for what a team should have been, they argued it again today.
I'm not gonna forget about them Seahawks, man.
The Seahawks better be good, man. Because if they don't, and we got something to talk about.
Hey, the same thing with the Jaguars. You better hope the Jaguars are good. Anthony Richardson. We ain't had that conversation here, but you better hope Anthony Richardson is good this year. I do too, but you better hope he's good.
I mean, but they still got Joe Flacco behind him, so.
Yeah, but the conversation was between him and Geno. So if Geno has a better season, I'm on your ass, J-Mick.
Yeah,
that was the argument. Geno was better than AR was better than Geno.
Yeah, no, we was deadlocked in the voting. It was me and Dre for the Seahawks, and then it was y'all for the Colts. And we literally argued about that.
No, it wasn't the Colts.
The Jaguars.
Nah, we argued all them teams. We argued at some point. We were arguing like 3 or 4 different teams from one spot. And it was my fault because we moved past the one team, and I just kept bringing the Seahawks up. It was my fault. I'm not gonna lie.
And if the Seahawks finish last in that division, but we gonna have a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Nah, Dre was giving.
Hey, J-Mick, I'm spinning a block.
I mean, it's not impossible though because I do think the Cardinals are gonna be much better though. Like they won 4 games last year. I think they're winning at the bare minimum that they're going to win 6-7 games this year.
Yeah, but I just think that Seahawks are going to be a better overall team than them. I think the Seahawks can win maybe 9 to 11 games this year.
I don't have them winning the division, but I could see him finishing second.
Well, I don't think anybody has anybody but the Niners winning that division.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to Rams fans, they're going to tell you they're going to win the division.
Yeah, but there's still question marks with the Rams. Like, we know the offensive side of the ball is pretty solid, but we need to see how Bursk and Fisk and the additions that they made to that defense, how does that look? Who did they end up picking up? Who is their defensive coordinator with the Rams?
I think they just promoted someone from within, I think.
Okay.
I mean, because the DC went with a Raheem Morris to the Falcons.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Was it the DC? No, actually, that was the OC. Well, no, he wasn't the OC. He was actually right. Yeah, he was right under the OC, actually.
The Rams. If there's any Rams fans watching, tune in to see where the Rams end up on the list because we ain't said the Rams' name yet. So
coming up soon.
They got Chris Shula.
Okay.
Will they be top 15? Will they be top 10? You got to tune out. Or you tune in, man.
Yeah. I don't think you want to tune out.
Nah, not tune out. My fault. But tune in and you'll find out.
Well, he young, too.
I mean, most of the coaches on that Rams coaching staff are young, though, man. It's just that's just how.
But he been there for a minute, though. That's it's really his only job.
I mean, the head coach is what, 30 down?
1 year.
How old is McVay?
I think he's like 38, 39.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, your head coach 38, 39. You can't be having no old-ass coaches on the staff.
Yeah, think with the Patriots, I think Mayo was like right around 40. I think his oldest coach is the OC, but that's because we got him from the Browns. But I mean, other than the OC, every other coach is like 40 or younger.
He was an inside the house hire though. They hired him in 2017. He's been with the team for 7 years.
I think that's
Okay,
what
cool.
though. Like, I don't think the Rams be hiring a whole bunch of outside coaches though.
No, he started as the assistant linebacker coach. Then he went to outside linebacker. Then he covered all the linebackers. Then he was a pass game coordinator, defensive backs coach. Then he was a pass rush game coordinator, and linebacker coach, and then defensive coordinator this year.
Man, I didn't
He's
realize.
just been moving around.
I didn't realize that the Rams signed Cameron Curl. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a free agent pickup they got from
Yeah,
the Commanders.
They signed him. They signed Tre'Davious White. And
Yeah.
boy, I mean, like them drafting Fisk and Verse that is nasty work.
1-2 punch. Yeah, that's why I want to see what that
that's
Rams
nasty work.
defense does, because I think they got a solid union, man. And I just
Who's
want to
the
see
third wide receiver?
what that looks like.
My only thing about the Rams, I'm looking at their depth chart though. They could have upgraded their tight end position though. Like Tyler Higbee, cool, but they like second tight end ain't really all that. So I don't know. I gotta see.
All right, man. We at the 2-hour mark, and we got to create the next set of teams. And yeah, so we gonna let y'all go, man. We appreciate it. Anything y'all got to say to the people before we get up out of here?
Nah, just keep tapping in with us every week. We like to hear y'all opinions and see what the next 5 teams are going to be on the list.
It'll be 6 teams again. We got 6 again for the last week.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, check us out.
Man, bro, this is gonna be a little difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say like and we a couple spaces this week in the evening, like weekly. So just let me check us for that too.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to run those spaces this week though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take over because I gotta be up early in the morning this week. I gotta work a little different at work, but yeah, just stay tuned in. I'm probably gonna have a space up a little bit later though. Let's say about 2.5 hours from now.
Yeah, y'all tap in with us, man. But until next time, y'all know what it is.